What's up, everyone? Hopping on a little late. Was working on some contract negotiations with a new channel partner, so that'll be fun. But yeah, let me see. I also need to get some exercise in, so I'm doing this from a treadmill instead of my normal spot. What are typical hours for SDR, BDR? Usually, pretty typical is like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. I mean, usually, the reason why is your hours are the customer's hours. People usually aren't going to be picking up the phones outside of 8 to 5. Pick up the speed. You know, I normally do like 6-minute mile pace, but today is more of a rest day. Got your second interview with CDW tomorrow. Congrats, man. Yeah, that's a good start for sure. Jen Hodgkins, I think. She's a tech sales creator on TikTok. I think she works at CDW. Get that working on. I know. I've been slacking a little bit this past like week. I've definitely noticed like if I don't get in my daily workouts, I just can't like concentrate as well in work, and then everything else just suffers. If it's like ADHD or something, but I used to work quite a bit, or work out quite a bit when I was in school. That helped a lot. What does POC mean? Proof of concept. So usually in software, the software requires like some customization to work for a customer specific environment. Long story short, the software is complicated, so they need to try it out to make sure that the sales reps not just like BSing them. Usually it's like 2 to 4 weeks. If I wasn't in tech sales, what would my career passion be? I'm a big motorsports guy. I would love to do sport bike racing. That would probably be one of my career passions. I would love to like get to like MotoGP level. Probably too old for it now, although Rossi was going into his 40s, but we'll see. Should we invest in gold and silver? I've actually been buying some gold. Actually, gold's actually kind of interesting to me. It's like one of those luxury things you could splurge on, but then it also doubles as an investment class, so you've been slacking on studying the AWS cloud. Oh yeah, you should definitely get on top of that. Look at Free Code Camp. They have a pretty good YouTube course. It was like 4 hours. They'll get you trained up on the cloud practitioner. Do I do my own outreach? I don't even really. We have like a BDR, but I only have 2 accounts, and they're pretty big accounts. So BDR, SDR isn't really used as much. Google AE versus Microsoft. Comp-wise is going to be pretty similar between them. Same thing with Amazon, pretty similar. Tom, can I work for American companies while living in Canada? You can, but they usually base your pay, like they'll pay you in American dollars. It depends. That's the thing. When you're working like cross-country or between countries, it can get a little complicated from a tax perspective. What you could do is, you know, you'd have to like use like an American address, claim you're living in America, but from a tax perspective, it does get kind of tricky. You're looking at a 4-hour course as we speak. Yeah, the 4-hour one was enough. I saw they did an updated 14-hour one. I don't know if you really need to do the 14-hour one. The 4-hour one was like plenty, at least for me. Thoughts on IC versus management track? Really depends. So in general, if you're like a really rock star sales rep, you're going to be making more money as an IC for the most part. There's a lot of people that stay on the IC path specifically for that. And it makes sense because if you're a manager, you're managing, you know, 6 to 10 reps. Your quota is a combination of those 6 to 10 reps. So it's really like, you know, the law of averages, right? You know, it's going to be a lot harder for you to blow out your quota across 8 reps versus like an individual rep as yourself. IC is individual contributor, so meaning you're not directly managing anyone. What are your options to get into management at AWS? It's pretty much like, they have, you could directly apply for management positions, but if you don't have prior management experience, it's a little hard to move into it. But they do have specific management training programs, which I'm kind of looking at. They're usually like 6 months or so. And there's like a big mentorship aspect, and you take courses sponsored by Amazon. And then at the end of that 6 months, you basically will get the decision or the choice to move into a management role or stay on the IC path. Some people prefer that. Late stage startups worth working at right now? Yeah, you could actually still make a lot of money at like Series C, Series D startups. As long as their growth hasn't slowed down, I would say it's worth checking that out. Can you do another tech sales job while working another job, like travel nursing? Not really. So travel nursing and stuff, that's like a job where like you literally have to work all the hours that you're working, so you don't really have downtime. You technically could work like 2 tech jobs at the same time if you're working remotely, but I don't see how you could do that with like a medical field job. Thoughts about going from consulting, project management to tech? Yep. Would I be a middle market sales manager? Maybe. It depends on the pay and depends on the company. Internal team, do you think a base salary for 70K plus OTE is decent? Yeah, is that for, oh, okay, you're an SDR, we're looking to bring you into the internal team. Yeah, that's pretty solid, especially if that's for an SDR position. Being a project manager versus sales. I mean, you'll make more money in sales, but there's more pressure. So me personally, I like more doing like the pitching. I don't really like the implementation side too much, so project management never really appealed to me. Like in my job actually right now, it's like a mix of both account management and being an account executive. And I really don't really like the whole management piece of like these longer term initiatives. Like things just move so slow sometimes. Have I heard of Weave? I think I have. What is OTE? OTE is on target earnings. That's how much you would earn in a year if you hit 100% of your goal quota. If you don't mind me asking, what is my study method? So my study method is I do things last minute. I'll procrastinate with studying, but really the way that I study is I like to watch videos and then I'll take notes and then I'll study those notes. Like for me, like the way that I learn it or absorb it is really I have to like physically write things down. That's just what ends up working best for me. And then repetition, like practice exams. Any opinion on Snowflake? Yeah, Snowflake's great. I have a colleague, a little jealous. He joined like a year before they went public. He turned down an offer from Google for a position at Snowflake. They pay a little bit less, but his stocks ballooned from like 250K to like 4 million. You have to take notes during a video. Yep. Even like sometimes like when I would be like onboarding on positions, I would take notes on an iPad, but I would use like the pen or whatever to write the notes while also doing audio recording to capture any like gaps that I had, and that helped me a ton. Have you ever been a BDR team leader? No, I haven't been a BDR team leader, but I've been a sales engineer manager. Any way to compare salary for SEs? CompGauge, they have some sales engineering information. You can look at levels.fyi, and I gotta remember what the name of the organization was, but I signed up for a newsletter when I was a sales engineer, and they do yearly summaries of sales engineer pay. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I gotta look up that email. Staying at a startup right before IPO, acquisition good. So if you're there, you should definitely stay through IPO, or at least until your options vest. I should do a newsletter. Yeah, I've thought about that. I think within the newsletter, I would like to do, tips, do some like Q&A type questions. I get a ton of like great questions from people on Instagram, and some of the responses I do are pretty lengthy, so it'd be great to share those. And then I'm thinking about doing like some sponsored job postings, specifically let's say like SDR, BDR positions, and also postings from startups that are looking to grow their sales teams. I'll probably end up doing something like that in the next month or two. Am I close to retirement? I mean, my goal is pretty high for retirement. I basically have enough passive income to cover all my expenses at this point, but I like to live lavishly, so I've got a ways to go. Like, there's kind of like two theories for retirement. There's like FIRE, which is basically like you basically retire, you only save up as much as you need to like live on the bare minimum. I'm more on like the fat FIRE method, that's what they call it. So what area am I in? I'm in cloud. I'm at Amazon Web Services right now. Can you get to a director position without going through manager? I see a director. Yeah, if you're like a high level IC going from like a bigger company to a startup, you could do that. How many real estate properties do I own? Right now, 3. I'm thinking about getting another one pretty soon, but these rate hikes are kind of crazy. Thoughts on SAP? They're a little bit more of a, I mean, they've been around for a while. Solid place to be, especially starting out. Was my current role a natural progression, or did I have to seek it out? Yeah, I kind of jumped around a little bit. I started off on support, then went to like an SDR position, then AE. This was at a hardware company. And I went to a software company as a sales engineer, got promoted to sales engineer manager, joined Google as an AE, went to another startup as a sales engineer, and now I'm like a senior level AE at AWS. So, oh, what state? Oh, Texas. Yep, actually all in Austin. So it's been great from both from a cash flow perspective and appreciation perspective. That market's crazy. What are my passive income streams? Mostly real estate right now, and then I've been doing some angel investing in startups, so starting to see some returns there. And then TikTok, I mean, it depends on what you consider. It's not really fully passive, but I kind of put it in that bucket now. Are you an HR Tom friends? Dan from HR, is that what you mean? Yeah, we're connected on here. And then HR actually from my job is pinged me about my TikTok, but fortunately they said someone complained about it, but they didn't find anything wrong. So what's angel investing? So that's getting early, basically investing in startups. Do I miss any of my past roles? If I could go back, I think the only thing I would have done differently is I probably would have stayed at Google longer. I was looking at a couple different roles internally. Ended up taking another startup position, and that one actually ended up being kind of a flop for a variety of different reasons. But I mean, it worked out in the end, so made the best decision that I could at the time. Do I ever travel for work? Yep. Right now I'm traveling probably like every 3 weeks or so. Was just in Seattle for a week, and a couple weeks before that was in Vegas for another event, and then we did another team event in Clearwater, Florida. So I'm planning a trip in Boston in 2 weeks. So it depends on the role, though. Some roles you don't really travel at all. Is there room from career growth from Google Cloud BDR? Yeah, Google is actually great for career growth. It's a little bit slower, but it's all level based. So at what age were you when my income really started accelerating? Probably like 28, 27. Like, it started to go up, but like it really started to go up like this year, just from the main W2 job, made over 500. And then the year before that was like 250. And then the year before that was 180. The year before that was like 130, I guess. And then it was like 70K. So, you know, it was going up, but like it really kind of started to accelerate near the end. You work at Amazon Fulfillment. Do you think it's possible to transition to a tech role at Amazon? Yeah, they actually do have like an internal transfer program, sponsorship program. Look on Inside Amazon, they have it there. How do you leave a failing startup without looking like a failure for low dollar close? I mean, you can always be honest. Sometimes it's out of your control. You just have bad territory. The product sucks. I would say if you want to leave without looking too bad, then probably the best option is to update your LinkedIn profile. Wait for recruiters to reach out to you for positions, and that way it's more like you're responding to their inquiries versus you proactively applying, which is a little bit of a different dynamic. Are you driving new business sales or more of an account manager retention? I do both. In Amazon or within cloud, like you don't really sell cloud and then see all that revenue right away. Usually it takes like 6 months, a year, or longer for customers to onboard onto the cloud, bring workloads on. So for that reason, your quota, you don't really have like just a net new quota like you do in SaaS. Usually like in SaaS, it's like, you know, 1.5 to 2.5 million per year in new revenue. In cloud, you're paid on a set of accounts. Your commission percentage changes every year based on how big your quota is, and then your recurring revenue basically gets added to your territory. So if your territory was like, mine's like 9 figures right now, but like it grew like 25 million from last year, but my percentage went down, so like the OT stayed about the same. Should you be applying to a lot of places at once, or is there a certain amount? I think if you're really looking for your next job and you want to be strategic, you should be lining up several interviews together. So your goal should be to have like at least 3 offers that you can compete against. Does my account list switch up every year? For me, yeah, they change it every year, but I'm at the strategic global account level, so I usually only have like 1 or 2 accounts. Did I negotiate with AWS? Yep, I did. I think I went up like another 30K in sign-on bonus with the negotiation, and I negotiated like another, it was like 30K in stock. How long to be an AE at a bad company before moving elsewhere? I don't think I would stay any longer than you need to. Like, don't wait for like a year mark. Like, you get an offer for a much better company, much better position, just make that jump. Saw it ticked up by a woman who got a lot of money by interviews about her time at Theranos, so she spins. Oh, I'm sure, yeah. Yep. Yeah, so cloud is crazy because cloud is really the core infrastructure that big companies run their entire IT on. So you think about it, you know, they're spending a ton of money on these big data centers, and that's just being shifted. That cost is being shifted from them paying for the data centers themselves or running their own data centers to the cloud. So because of that, you know, if there's a company that has, you know, $2 billion in revenue a year, you know, they're easily spending, you know, 100 million, 200 million a year just on their IT infrastructure. Do I support the full sales cycle? Yep. Is cloud different from SaaS? Yeah, I put them in different categories. Any AWS cloud certifications you recommend? Yeah, start with the cloud practitioner certification, easiest one. And then, you know, there's the professional architect. That would be the next one to target. How long would it take to get 175, 200K with no tech experience? So assuming you're a rock star, let's say you start off as an SDR, you're getting paid between 60 and 90K. You get promoted within 12 to 18 months. That gets you to an SMB AE closing position. Usually your pay will like almost double from that point. So you'll probably be at like, you know, 100 to 120K. do really well in that role for 18 months, get promoted to mid-market or enterprise, and that would easily get you to that 175 to 200K mark. So you would need like 2 promotions to get to that point, but you can do it. Costco gang, yeah. I got the Kirkland ones too. The Kirkland ones are black and gray, but with the Costco, the embroidered Costco logo, it's premium. This is only on the white, I guess. Possible move between countries at AWS, yep. Yeah, you can do international relocations. I have co-workers that are looking at doing that right now. Basically, once you're there, and this is the same thing at Google, same at like Microsoft, for example, when you're looking at internal positions to apply for, they'll tell you which ones are eligible for international relocation bonuses. But I know plenty of people that have done that, both like from the US to other countries and then other countries to the US. Where'd I get that sweater? I got it, straight from Costco. Most important skill to focus on to move up. I think most important skill if you want to move up is being able to really articulate the value that you're providing. You need to own your career, be your own cheerleader. You need to effectively, be able to show the scope and impact of your work. You need to make sure that you're visible to leadership. Those are really kind of like the key things. And of course, blow away all your key metrics. Will you ever work non-remote again? I won't. It depends. It depends what company. So, I mean, I live downtown Chicago. I literally live like a mile from the Amazon office. So like for me, it's not that big of a deal to like do a 15-20 minute walk, but I wouldn't like drive. I wouldn't do a commute again anymore, for sure. So what they look for in performance reviews, they look for your key metrics, and then they also look at, usually you'll have a job rubric, job matrix, and they'll tell you what traits you need to demonstrate at your current level and at the higher level. Is 250K a year possible as an enterprise? Yeah. I get a ton of recruiter messages. Enterprise positions for like pretty much any startup, a typical pay package is actually 300K nowadays. 150K base, 150 on target commission. Still gonna flip the TRX. Yeah, I've got a bunch of people messaging me for it. It should be sold anytime. I finally got the title. It took them a while to mail it. Favorite Chicago restaurant, Portillo's. Am I walking on a treadmill? Yeah. I didn't get my workout in earlier. It's a really busy day. Next car. Either the Ferrari FF or the Ferrari GTC4 Lusso. That one's been on my radar. They've depreciated a lot. It's one of the last V12 Ferraris. 4-door, all-wheel drive. They've actually started to appreciate again. I passed up on one for like 90K a year ago, and I'm kicking myself because now the floor on those is like 120, 130K. So that's the next area that I'm gonna be like flipping, is finding good deals on exotics. And then that's probably one of the best ways. I like to turn my hobbies into little side hustles. What have I heard about sales within IBM? So IBM's kind of in a tricky spot. They're a little late to the cloud game, and they're catching up. From what I've heard, they're investing a lot into the cloud, so that's a good sign. But the culture I've heard is a little bit mixed. It really depends on the specific manager you're working with. You found it harder to hit OTE as you move up a position, or is it the same when you get on? I would say it's about the same. I will say it's a little harder to hit OTE or really blow past your OTE when you're managing a smaller number of accounts versus like a larger number of smaller accounts. Most lucrative hobby for side hustles. I like cars, so I do like flip cars. I don't make like a ton from that, but that can be pretty lucrative depending on what you're doing. But real estate is probably, if you're really into real estate and you like doing flips and you can actually work on stuff yourself and do like some of the renovation work yourself, That's probably the most lucrative for side hustle. What time do I wake up and go to sleep? I'm usually up by like 6:30, and I try to go to sleep. I should be going to sleep now, but I didn't get my workout in earlier, and I told myself I was going to get it in today. So yeah, I usually go to bed like 10 or 11. Am I on the treadmill or Stairmaster? I'm on like one of these weird treadmills. Like it's like super thick. It's not like a normal looking treadmill. Probably should be doing the Stairmaster. Best advice for the loop. Try to have 3 examples for each leadership principle. And don't reuse examples between interviewers, and really focus on your own individual contributions. These 900K top reps, enterprise AEs. Yeah, these are our enterprise roles. As you can see, most of the top enterprise companies pay between 250, 300K OTE. And usually the top earners, the way that they structure the comp packages, typically the top earners are getting close to $1 million. It's pretty hard to get past that though. Can you be an SDR at 17? Yeah, I mean, they usually don't have age requirements. Just use rep view to apply, got your initial booked. Nice. Why did site score fall out of top 10? I forgot how I sorted this exactly. I sorted it by top reps. And I think this one's like 4 weeks old too, so. You own 2 Airbnbs, personally the best. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Airbnb. The reason why, and I like doing medium-term rentals, so not quite short-term rentals. So I do 30-day minimums in my properties. And why I like it is that if you really want to embrace like remote work lifestyle, it allows you to actually like use the real estate that you buy. Normally, if you buy real estate and you put a renter in there, you know that you're not going to be in that property. It's like rented out constantly. But if you do like 30-day minimums, you can like kind of plan your schedule and block it off for like 30 days at a time for your own use. And that can allow you to like basically live in a bunch of different parts of the country and, you know, own real estate at the same time. Biggest challenge in sales at AWS, I think it's just managing all the internal processes. That's like any big company. You have to be a tech major without doing a boot camp. No, you don't. Where do I get my emerging startup info? On blogs. So I like to look at Crunchbase, and for emerging startups, if you really want to pick a good startup to focus on, look at like what the tier 1 venture capital firms are doing, like Excel and Sequoia. So they do a ton of, obviously, research on all of their investments. So if they've invested in a company, you can be pretty sure that they have like a pretty solid business model, strong founding team, strong product. So those are usually the companies that I'm keeping an eye out on. And then for other blogs, I do like reading The Hustle. I think The Hustle's pretty good, and Morning Brew. And TechCrunch. Best sites to use when applying for SDR roles. I would say you're pretty much going to find most of the jobs posted on LinkedIn. So workforce housing's 3,880 days stays. Yep. Easiest. Low turnover. You pretty much don't even have to use, like if you do short-term rentals out of state, you pretty much have to use like a management firm to do all the turnover and housekeeping and all. With these 30+ day rentals, the turnover is so low. Like I only book like a cleaner basically in between stays, pay them like $150, and then after that I manage everything else. What podcast do I listen to? Not too many right now. I feel like my attention span's gotten really low during the pandemic, so I pretty much only consume a lot of TikTok. The Hustle. Yeah, The Hustle's awesome. The one podcast that I did listen to is I think it's with Sampar as well. It's like Millionaire Mindset. I forgot which one it is. I don't remember the name of it, but it's on my Spotify. What's my annual burn? in terms of my expenses. It's fairly high. I did a breakdown. I probably overspend, but YOLO, right? There's always more money to be made. What was my KPIs as an SDR? I think my KPI, I'm trying to remember, I think it was like 20 activities per day. So that was either a lead worked through an email or voicemail or call, but I made it a goal to go 20% above that. Best cyber computer companies, in my opinion. There's a wide range of cyber companies. On the privacy side, OneTrust, Okta. Okta's, you know, they've got some trouble right now with like the kind of the breach, but they're pretty solid. I like Qualys and Tenable from a vulnerability management side. Yeah, Darktrace is solid. I like Cylance too. They do more of the behavior-based vulnerability detection. Favorite boss and why? Probably, I really enjoyed my manager at Google. She was a super strong seller, and she moved into management, and I was like one of like, I joined her team as she just moved into management. And what I really liked is that she did a good job of distilling information from upper level managements. Did a good job of like filtering out the noise. I think that's important to do as a manager, because as a sales rep you get pulled into a bunch of different directions. And but she was still a very engaged seller, which is great. Sometimes managers won't be involved in the sales side at all, and they're just people managing. I think really strong sales managers are the ones that still prioritize sales activities themselves and drive revenue that way. Am I offering personal mentorship? I respond to messages on Instagram, but pretty exciting. I am working with Bravado. It's Bravado and Corporate Bro, and I'm putting together like a mini program. It's more of like a mentorship program, like a couple-week mentorship program with live sessions, one-on-one mentoring. So look out for an announcement pretty soon on that. But if you want like one-on-one coaching, mentoring, I do have spots on my bio. I charge, you know, for 40 minutes or an hour. The price is pretty high, but it's reflective of, you know, what my time is worth. And I also try not to take on, my time's already pretty limited. Corp is hilarious. Yeah, Ross is fun. Do I sell with Medic? You know, we don't actually really use, at least on my team, a specific methodology. If anything, our Salesforce hygiene is like really bad, but they're constantly changing that. It's also, I don't think it's as relevant on like the bigger, more strategic accounts because the deal volume is lower. You only work a 40-hour week. How is it easy for you to work? For you, how easy is it for you? Vacation distraction fee for a week. I mean, for me, it's pretty easy. Yeah. What sales methodologies have I used before? Oh man, there's been a bunch. I mean, I've gone through a bunch of different trainings, challenger selling, spin selling. So yeah, there's, you know, there's Medic, there's what's the other big one? I'm drawing a blank right now. I'm like wiped from the day, but the main methodology that I really use even to this day right now is challenger selling methodology. Enterprise SDR base salary, like 70K, usually 60 to 70. I have been seeing some companies that are hiring more like senior level SDRs, like lifetime SDRs, which is kind of interesting to me. People that really enjoy that role don't want to go up to an AE. Those will pay 100K base or more. Thoughts on outsource SDR shops? I'm not a big fan, unless it's a really transactional business model, low deal size. I don't think it really works that well. You're not really building the relationships with customers. We tried to use that at Google. didn't really work too well. I don't think I got any solid leads from our outsourced SDR team. Isn't even worth the price. Yeah, the location kind of sucks a little bit. You know, you end up having to go north, take an Uber all the time. But other than that, it's an awesome building. Nice Costco hoodie. Thanks, Scott. Kind of annoyed. I got Dunkin' Donuts Nitro Cold Brew and like a little bit dripped on here. I hope it doesn't settle in the shirt because it's like a bright white hoodie. Favorite software tools currently? From a sales perspective, I like you know, LinkedIn is like my #1 tool for sure. Your host, I know. I was thinking, you know, if it doesn't come out, I'm just gonna use the Costco guarantee and tell them to give me a refund or exchange. Any projects I take on within AWS? Not really. I did in other roles, but in this one I've been more focused on the main role. But honestly, even then, it's been a little distracting with like other side hustles too, so. But we'll see. I'm kind of evaluating what do I want to do with my career. Am I seeing an attrition in the market for SDRs? You know, there's definitely normal attrition. So SDR sometimes is one of those like weed out roles, right? I think especially at smaller startups, I've seen in some startups like less than 30% of SDRs get promoted to AE or inside sales reps. At the bigger companies where they're harder to get into, like Microsoft, Google, it's a lot higher, but definitely on the sales career path, the most attrition is going to be at the SDR role. But then as you get up, the attrition is actually fairly low. SaaS founder Tom, when? Maybe this year. Maybe this year. We'll see. I'm working on some business plans. One of the cool things with TikTok is I've gotten some like VC connections. So I mean, we'll see. If I was able to get like a good technical co-founder and get funding, for sure, I would just go all in. To me, in my mind, being like starting your own SaaS company is like the ultimate sales role. You've got like the most upside for sure. You're essentially still selling the company as an executive. So you're selling the company, you're selling the vision. When you're pitching, you're selling it internally. When you're hiring, expanding out the team. Thoughts on Snowflake? Top tier company in my opinion to be at. Thoughts on former outreacher here. Thoughts on it? Yeah, there's a number. I've used SalesLoft. They're all like fairly similar. Definitely a must-have tool if you're doing like high volume prospecting. What's the overarching strat for LinkedIn outreach? Overarching strat is leverage your second and third degree connections for sure. Like don't just like randomly reach out to people and have like a generic message. Try to like leverage connections and make your outreach as more personable. It only takes like a minute, to kind of quickly look through, see if there's anything that you can kind of latch on, make it personal there. You can just imagine how much spam people get nowadays. Also keep things short too. Ever heard of Memory Blue? I have. Oh dude, how is Big Panda on top of any list? Dude, Big Panda, they're killing it. I think they're at like $1 billion valuation. Series, I think they're Series D, or maybe it's Series B. Maybe it's Series B. But I'm actually really bullish on Big Panda. I think they're like one of the next big tech companies that are going to blow up from a valuation perspective. Sending LinkedIn videos. Yeah, anything you could do to kind of stand out. Favorite way to entertain a client and meet them in person. You can't go wrong with, dinner and drinks. I haven't done this yet because, pandemic kind of slowed things down, but I'm a big fan of like taking people out to like sports games. I know reps at Google when I was there, like the ones in the Bay near like the racetracks or in the SoCal, they would take out executives for track days. I would definitely love to do that. I'm within the automotive segment right now, so I might try to get something set up there. Palo Alto Networks is a BDR. What do you think about the company? I'm bullish. They did a pretty big transformation from hardware-based firewalls to cloud-first cybersecurity. I think they have an excellent portfolio of products. I think they're really well positioned within the market. You interviewed with a startup for SDR role. What kind of salary should you expect to negotiate? Yeah, expect like 60 to 90K OTE. Can a nurse transition to tech sales? Yeah, you know, quite a few people have transitioned from medicine to tech. One of my good friends, his childhood friend reached out to me. He was an x-ray technician for like 8 years. He was burned out. He looked at my page, at like the free resources and stuff and the guides, and he applied himself, and within like 2 months he got an SDR position, and he's in tech sales now doing great. He says he loves it compared to being an x-ray technician. Can you be successful as an SDR, AE as an introvert? Yeah, I mean, I used to be, I still kind of am, pretty introverted. I was always like fairly shy. In my experience, my opinion, it goes away with confidence, and you get that confidence just by a lot of repetition, being in the role. When you start to see like the value that you provide to customers, that provides you a lot of confidence. So I mean, you don't necessarily need to be like a social extrovert. I think a lot of like the introvert traits lend well to being an SDR AE. Like, you need to be a good listener. You need to pick up like little subtext and cues on customer calls. You need to be able to effectively drive meetings. And you also need to make like the customers feel good too about the decisions that they're making. So I think introverts do a good job at that. Average pay for corporate AE, first year AE. It depends on the company, for sure. So corporate AE, I would assume that means like SMB, like probably 100, 120K OTE. People jumping roles often internally at AWS. I wouldn't say often, but pretty much like every 2 years or so, you're gonna get promoted and either move up within that same org, or you'll move into a different part of the company. What's a better paying role, SDR or customer success? It depends on the level. The level's going to depend quite a bit. Like if you're a senior customer success manager, for example, at AWS, you know, they're making over 200K, level 6. So you're not going to make that as an SDR. Would you be interested in paying you an equitable referral fee for placing your students? Yeah, it would be, sure, I'd be potentially interested in that. Think about different, I think one of the ways I want to use this platform is to be able to kind of do it as like a job board type thing, connect people that are interested in getting into the role and companies that are looking to build out. I also want to do some like VP of sales as a service type role, CRO type role, where I build out their sales process for them for early stage startups, consult on that. How hard is it to get an AE role at one of the big cloud companies? Very hard. You either need to have like a ton of experience within the space and strong performance, or you need like strong referrals, but in most cases you need both. If you want to get to AE role at one of the big cloud companies, your best bet is actually to get in at a lower level and get promoted up, in my opinion. Significant pay bump for promotions at AWS. They haven't announced them yet, but what, you know, it ranges though. For some people, I think they're only seeing like 5%. And for other people, like 30, 35%. It really depends on like what your pay was before and when you were hired and everything. It's a great business model given your platform. Yeah, I think so. I've been thinking about different ways of like monetizing it. I think it's probably like one of the best ways. I'm a big fan of like having companies pay instead of like the mass users pay on these types of platforms. Like I don't really want to charge like $10 for a spreadsheet or something like that. I would rather like develop some really valuable partnerships that provide value back, and then, you know, both for my followers and also for the company. Was the list sorted by? Yeah, it's sorted by top rep income at the enterprise level. Thoughts on Paycom? I think it's a solid, it could be a solid start. First one, especially if they're offering you a pretty good pay package. Why is white space within territory is a good question to ask. I think it's a good one to ask because it lets you know like what else is left in the territory for you to even farm and get. You know, like if, let's say for example, the territory, I don't know, let's say just for example, there's already $50 million of revenue, ARR within that territory, but you know there's only like $5 million of white space left. It means it's mostly been picked over at that point. Thoughts on Momentive AI, SurveyMonkey? SurveyMonkey, I'm bullish on. Momentive AI, I haven't looked into. Good questions to ask. Good questions to ask would be, what are some of the successful traits that you've seen among top performers on your team? What are your biggest pain points that you're facing? Where do you see like the biggest growth opportunities on your team and on your account list? What are your favorite things about working at company XYZ? Time to prospect and prep for tomorrow. I hear background noise. Happy to help. How can we partner with you? Premier service, partner with AWS specializing in app mod and migration. Send me an email or Instagram DM. That's the best way to get in touch with me. Both of those are in my bio. How big of a factor? Well, I'll screenshot you so I don't forget. You don't reach out. Cybersecurity sales advice. Yeah, so cybersecurity, I've been in that space. The advice I would say is, you know, expand, like, don't just sell at like, you know, at the director level. You should be trying to get to executive or VP level. Nowadays, cybersecurity is at the forefront of what executives are thinking about. It used to be more of a cost center. Now they're being more proactive. So I would say, and focus on providing value instead of just like selling on the feature sets too. That's in general for most software sales nowadays. Most profitable tech sales space. I think right now, fintech is getting a lot of attention. I've sold at a fintech, banks and stuff. They're ancient, a lot of technical debt, and it's very profitable because it's pretty easy to prove value when you're selling software that helps lenders be more efficient. Like at the last company I was at, I was selling machine learning underwriting that would increase the number of safe approvals that they could do and decrease the number of charge-offs at about a 15% rate. So if they're making, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars of loans, that's a lot of money that you're saving them. Thoughts on CrowdStrike? My prior sales director works there. I think they're one of the top players in my mind in cybersecurity too. How do I feel about Dell EMC? They have a good reputation. Yeah. You know, they're not like one of the top tech companies, but they're well respected for sure. They do pay a little bit lower than the top tech companies, but you know, there's trade-offs with everything on that. Is Glassdoor indeed reliable for pay comps? Not for sales. No. In sales, there's too many variations between territories, seniority, differences in comp plans. So like Glassdoor, Indeed, yeah, they don't really work well for sales data. That's why you gotta look at places like RepView. What impresses you specifically when interview candidates? I think usually what impresses me is like the types of questions that they ask at the end of the interview. Because that really tells you like how much they've researched into the company, researched into the role, and really thought about it. And then anything like if they ever like talk about like a 30, 60, 90 day plan, or they already have thoughts in their head in terms of how they're going to be successful in the role and how they're going to be self-sufficient, that's always a plus. How long does it take to go from SDR to AE? About 2 years. It's usually about 2 years to move up levels at AWS. Most of the big tech companies are like that too. These are great questions, everyone. I gotta hop off, so I gotta wake up relatively early tomorrow. But I'll do these. I do these lives every Wednesday evening. Usually it's 9 p.m. Central. Sometimes a little bit later. I'm gonna post this recording on YouTube. The link to the TikTok live playlist is in my profile in my bio. So if you want to play this back, feel free. All the other ones are there as well. I don't expect you to listen through the whole thing, but maybe one day I'll hire someone to kind of break it up into interesting clips. But as of right now, it's just a straight live recording. But if you have any other questions, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or message me on Instagram. Usually Instagram's like where I check the most for messages. And I try to check up on LinkedIn like at least once a week in my inbox. But thanks everyone. Have a great night.